Many thanks for your company on the marketplace today. With me, Emmanuel Abuaji. We have let's settle for the very first story. The Trade Union Congress, TUC, in collaboration with the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, has organized a regional forum to discuss issues related to pensions, benefits computation, among others. The nationwide educational forum was held in Takoradi in the Western region and was aimed at promoting knowledge of the SNIT scheme, empowering organized labor as peer educators for the trust, as well as demystifying some thorny issues surrounding the benefit computation and partnering the SNIT or the trust in compliance enforcement.
The regional forum was also in compliance with a directive by the National Pension Regulatory Authority to SNIT to intensify its public education activities and to ensure members of the scheme understand how their benefits are calculated. The Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, Joshua Ansah, says pension has been a major concern for workers in Ghana, and that was why they felt it was necessary to bring the top hierarchy of SNIT to address these concerns.
This seminar is very important to us as workers in Ghana. We have all the time had a certain misconceptions and myths about how the SNIT computes our SNIT or our pension and how certain things are done. So this regional forum with SNIT is helping us to understand what really goes into the computation of our pension at the end of our retirement. And so to us, it's going to be an engagement that will continue to engage, and then to understand where the problem is coming from, especially why our pension is too low. Then we will try as much as possible to address that particular problem as we go on as workers. So TUC is very much grateful that this opportunity has been given to us.
On his part, Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Ofori Tinkran, debunks any myths surrounding benefit computation and that pension are a direct reflection of salaries on which contributions were paid.
Now, it has emerged that the river Tyne in the Bono region, which was expected to host a 55-megawatt hydroelectric power dam, will no more be reliable for the project. Feasibility studies by engineers have revealed the river dries up during the Harmattan season, requiring an alternative source of energy. JoyNews' Nesta Kafuya-Joma sat through a meeting of major stakeholders at Wenchi in the Bono region to review the progress of the project and has sent in this report. The $120 million project owned by Tapcon Ghana Limited was initially designed to establish an eco-tourist site, an airstrip, as well as a solar power station to help create 2,000 more jobs within the Wenchi municipality of the Bono region. Now, engineers are recommending a hybrid hydro-solar energy component, which according to them is more viable. Matthias Heider is the lead hydropower engineer with Fichtner in Germany.
The result of the feasibility study was that indeed, based on this fact that almost half of the year the power plants will not have sufficient water to operate, the financial viability is at stake. So our recommendation would be to reconsider the idea of another small PV plant next to the hydropower site in order to operate them as a hybrid plant. So once there's sunshine, the hydropower plant does not need to operate.
Construction of the hydroelectric dam and other components was scheduled to start in February this year, but CEO of Tapcon Ghana Limited, Oheneba Dr. Krebri Boating Tebri, said the delay is normal.
There was only a delay in planning. It's basically engineering and architectural works, and planning sometimes take very long time. For you to complete a hydroelectric dam, we have a minimum of about 2 to 3 years in engineering, planning and designs until the contractor comes to the site. The same thing applies to the proposed airport.
Oheneba Dr. Krebri Boating Tebri explained they have accepted the recommendations of the engineers from Fichtner and implementation will soon take off.
We are still sticking to the 55 megawatts of solar and 10 megawatts hybrid of hydro-solar. These are the two components. The 55 megawatts of solar will be the first stage one, the first stage. And then stage two will be the dam, 2 megawatts and 8 megawatts of another smaller solar which is a hybrid. That would be the phase 2. And that would include also, after the dam has been constructed and the lake has been formed, then the ecotourism and agriculture will follow.
Nesta Kafuya Juma's report. Let's turn attention now to one of our top stories today. Government has assured of its commitment to firmly deal with the issue of foreigners trading in retail markets. This follows recent heightened tension between Ghanaian retail traders and their Nigerian counterparts at the Swami magazine market in Kumasi. The local traders are accusing government of its lukewarm attitude in enforcing the investment laws on petty trading. But Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah insists it needs a little bit of time to close the chapter on these issues.
If you are finding any person, be that person Ghanaian or otherwise, who is engaged in any activity that is not in consonance with our laws, whether it's a Ghanaian operating a shop where that shop ought not to be operated, or operating without a necessary fire license or FDA approvals, whatever, if it's an American, if it's a Nigerian, if it's a Chinese, what we have to encourage people to do is to make a report on those specifics to the appropriate authorities so that they deal with it. It is necessary so that we avoid a certain stereotyping of a particular group of people. Else we also run the risk of our citizens elsewhere being stereotyped. But we can deal with individual breaches on the face of those specific breaches, and that is what we must encourage.
Has the ECOWAS protocols and treaties tied governments and whatever right things that they want to do, because we have appended our signature, free trade, we are trying to host the secretariat as well. These are all broader protocols that we've signed up to, and do you think that in trying to even enforce our laws, we've had our hands tied in doing that?
Our hands are not tied. We just have to understand that we work in a global ecosystem, and therefore we have to be very tactful whenever we are enforcing or going about any of these measures. And that's why I've encouraged that on specific by specific basis, you can pick a particular matter that this person is operating without a fire license, this person is operating contrary to FDA approvals for this particular line of business, this person is operating contrary to this particular, let's say, regulation. And the various agencies can deal with it. Save that, we are generally interested in applying the kind of protocols that we have signed and our domestic laws that don't derogate from those protocols.
Let's go live to Kumasi now and join our man in Kumasi, Prince Apia, for some current updates on this development. Now, Prince, what exactly can you tell us today? What is happening at the Swami market?
Yeah, I think that as I speak to you, a lot of progress at the Swami magazine artisanal enclave, because currently there's 2 patrol vehicles. As at the time I went there, that's what I saw, 2 patrol vehicles, one full of military men, the other full of policemen, and they are ensuring that what happened yesterday will not replicate itself today. So as I speak to you, a lot of people are going about their businesses on a normal. People are buying and selling. The only challenge is that the Nigerian shops that we visited as at yesterday, where some were attacked, today we haven't seen them open, and that is what is changed. But we are learning that it is part of some of the security advice that is better that they don't open now.
Now, so could you tell us whether there have been any arrests made? Because yesterday the police assured that some of these perpetrators were going to be apprehended and dealt with. What is the situation?
Well, I speak to you, no official confirmation have been made with regards to anybody being arrested, and but it is going around that one person have been picked up, but we have not seen that. We cannot confirm that from the official source with the Ashanti Police Command. But as I speak to you, calm has gone down and the tension has reduced. Everybody is going about their normal duties at the Swami magazine enclave.
Now, that particular shop yesterday, you sent the visuals where it was, you had these hoodlums attacking and looting some of the items. What has happened? Has it been opened as of now?
That shop has been closed. It hasn't been open. That shop has been closed, and what we are told is that they are trying to adjust that particular challenge because some of the items in there got destroyed, damaged as a result of yesterday's demonstration. The owner of the shop was nowhere to be found. The woman who was there as of yesterday, today she was nowhere to be found. So that is the update from that side as well.
All right, many thanks for that update. We'll certainly come to you again when there are more developments. Prince Appiah joining us from Kumasi with that update. Let's turn attention to other stories. Indigenous beverage manufacturing company Kasapreko is making a passionate appeal to government to settle the disagreement between Ghanaian traders and their Nigerian counterparts. According to the company, the issue, if not resolved, could go a long way to affect its branch in Nigeria. Managing Director of Kasapreko Company Limited, Richard Ajay, spoke with Joy Business at the commissioning of the company's new 400 kilowatt solar energy plant located at Spintex Road at the bottling facility.
Recently, about 20 retail shops belonging to Nigerian traders were shut down by their Ghanaian counterparts who vowed to evict foreigners from the retail space. This move, according to them, is to compel authorities to implement laws concerning retail trading in the country. Kasapreko Company Limited fears the dispute, if not resolved, could have a toll on its subsidiary in neighboring Nigeria. Richard Ajay is Managing Director of Kasapreko Company Limited.
Certainly, I think we all know what is going on between the US and China with their trade wars. So if Ghana and Nigeria is also going to follow these trade wars, it will certainly affect our product if it escalates, and we hope that it doesn't. For us, we are not, I'll say that we cannot do much, but we just have to keep encouraging the government agencies to do their portion to encourage trade between the two countries, and not even just between the two countries, the West African countries as a whole. And I know there are some plans in place to even look at doing an African-wide trade policy. We would certainly continue to encourage that.
The 400 kilowatt solar plant will supply 3.5% power generation outside the national grid annually to support the needs of a bottling facility and help to displace power supplied by diesel generators at the height of a day. Mr. J is hopeful prices of its product could reduce in the near future by this project.
For us, going solar is certainly, as I said, looking at reducing our manufacturing costs in the medium to long term. And as our cost reduces, certainly we look to pass that savings to the consumers. So we are looking in the long term to have some of the most competitive price in the market for our products.
The solar plant installation is Ghana's first power purchasing agreement financed solar plant for a commercial customer. The West Africa Managing Director of Yingli Namin, suppliers of a plant, Fermin Ingasam, says his outfit seeks to make solar plant acquisition affordable.
The target of this company, Yingli Namin, this joint venture was actually to make solar available, accessible to people in Africa. All of us know solar is cheap, solar energy is cheap, but achieving solar is a high upfront cost. As the technical director just said, it was an opportunity to have solar with no upfront payment. So this is a very long story, how to make solar available.
The beverage company is currently saving about 20% operational costs by the help of a new plant. Bismarck Awusa's report for Joy Business.
Now, provisional real gross domestic product figures for the country shows an increase of 6.7% in the first quarter of 2019 as against a lower growth of 5.4% in the same period last year. This means the economy grew higher in the first quarter of the year compared with the previous year, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, GSS. The services sector, which includes information and communications technology, ICT, health and social work, mining and electricity, were the main drivers for the growth rate. Here's a report by Ebenezer Sabuti.
The industrial sector recorded its highest growth rate of 8.4%. The information, communication and technology subsector, however, increased from 16.3% to 37%, making it the highest contributor to the rate. Government statistician Professor Samuel Anim noted the agricultural sector has witnessed slow growth in the first quarter of this year compared to the previous year.
These three subsectors within the services subsector is accounting for 50% of the GDP within the services subsector, which is 15,238.7 million Ghana cedis. Emphasis is on the drivers within the services subsector, and the information and communication subsector is driving the services subsector, and eventually what we're seeing in terms of the 6.7 GDP growth rate that we talked about, and it's accounting for 37.0% of the growth within the services subsector.
Professor Samuel Anim has been explaining how the data was generated.
From an estimation point of view, we need to emphasize the fact that the process involves two main activities: the data compilation component and the estimation component. And within the estimation component, we have various stages that we go through. We have the provisional, the revised, and the final. The distinction between this is very important because it depends on when data is ready in terms of the full extent of data that we need. And finally, once the data is authenticated, we release the final results.
The industrial sector in general recorded a growth rate of 8.4%, followed by the services sector with a rate of 7.2% and agricultural sector with 2.2%.
Meanwhile, economist with the University of Ghana, Professor Peter Quartey, has described the journal's GDP growth rate as positive. He was, however, concerned about the slow growth rate in the agri sector.
Provided that we use part of the resources from oil to diversify the economy, to modernize agriculture, to support other sectors of the economy so that we don't have oil driving most of the activities in Ghana. We don't want to suffer from the Dutch disease problem where we focus more on one sector at the expense of the other, because that can be quite disappointing or can be troublesome sometimes. When oil prices go down, like it happened in Nigeria in 2016, you have an economic slowdown and economic stagnation. You don't want that. You want to diversify your economy so that when oil prices or one sector is not performing, quickly you adjust and then you're able to cope very well. We're likely to meet our growth targets. If there's going to be any shortfall at all, it shouldn't be. It should be very marginal. I think we should. But it's not just, we know oil is going to grow, given the trends we are seeing. The oil sector is going to drive the economy. But we need to be worried if the other key sectors, agriculture and manufacturing, is not picking up.
Now, as part of efforts to improve financial inclusion, government, through the Ministry of Finance, has awarded 2 fintech companies a total of $530,000 to develop innovative remittance products at a relatively lower cost. The award forms part of the remittance grant facility of $2.6 million projects financed by the Swiss government. There's more in this report.
The Remittance Grant Facility, RGF, was launched in May 2017 to provide financial assistance to companies to develop and introduce innovative remittance services. Speaking at the award ceremony, Director of Financial Services at the Ministry of Finance, Samson Akligo, explained government will continue to support enterprises to push economic growth.
This initiative is one of the most valued ones for me, and I want the recipients to make the country proud as they work to build formidable businesses. I also want to hint that I think we have done quite some work on fintech. A lot of them are on the policy level, but at the Ministry of Finance, I think we have come with a digital financial services strategy that is in the works. We have also, I just got a report on the Cashlight Roadmap, which is on my desk, and you know that the entire government is very committed to that. Another key thing that we are working on, which I think is also going to be very practical, is that under the International Financial Services Center concept, fintech is is a very key umbrella. So we hope that all this would continue to provide that formidable business for fintech to thrive.
Deputy Head of Cooperation at the Switzerland Embassy, Daniel Lochner, who represented the Swiss government, pledged to support government in equipping the private sector to help solve problems facing Ghana.
What we agreed on is that the two governments refrained from coming up with solutions. Because, let's be modest, we are not the experts in what is the right solution to transfer money. Let's put the challenge out to the private sector. Let's ask the banks, the fintechs, the money transmitters. What is the solution? And the only thing we did, basically, is to contribute to lower the risk by providing some funds, not all the funds of projects, but providing up to 50% of the contribution of projects, of the budget of projects proposed by the private sector.
4 companies, ZPay, Pay Inc., Express Pay and Dream Oval Limited, have so far benefited a total of $750,000 from the first round of the grant. The 2 new companies for the second round are Insano and IT Consult, both fintechs which provide services for remittance transfer. For Joy Business, Karin Dudu.
And just before we go, government says the Akosomo Textiles Limited will soon increase its production by 50% as efforts to revamp its yields results. Trade Minister Alan Chemantin told MPs stimulus package to the tune of 17 million cedis has been awarded to the company. He is assuring efforts to revamp it will help generate the necessary jobs. We'll bring you updates when you join us again for more business on Business Live this evening. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. That's it for the marketplace. Have a good afternoon.